Hey, welcome to the Saltcorn office hours for Friday, the 21st of November. Sorry about being a couple of minutes late here. I struggled with my Windows. I want to show some new stuff, and it's I just needed to rearrange my Windows a little bit because I'm gonna show you how you can run multiple nodes. So I need multiple windows for that. Hopefully you can see them simultaneously. I hope to be able to set that up. So we've had a busy week. It's been, I think, 3 weeks before we did this last. And so we are got a couple of things to talk about. So let's see. I made a list here on various platforms where I announced this. So as usual, please ask. Hey, Mike, good to see you. As usual, do ask any questions. That is the main purpose of this time. But if there aren't any questions immediately, then I'm just gonna show some things that we've been working on for the last couple of weeks, and we there are quite a lot of updates. I am still struggling a little bit with my. Okay, that's good. Hey, Patrick, good to see you as well. Okay, so let's get started with this. So, a couple of things that I'd like to show you. One is actually something where I'd like people to maybe give me a little bit of feedback if you have it. So, a new feature that I would love for you to test out and see what feedback people have on it. So this is so we currently have this view. I see that I am not. Yeah, this is probably okay. I'm just trying to set up the right screen dimensions and everything, but I don't know if we can. I have a full screen here, so I can now just move this around. Ah, that didn't work. Okay, let's just make it full screen. No. Okay, I'm just gonna press the full screen button. There we go. So that's okay, I guess. And so we've had this, but there was, for those of you who've been using Saltcorn for a very long time, which I probably not anyone here on this who's watching this. We did have a different sort of initial page. You will see that in the first tutorial videos if you look at those. So this is, what does it look like when you first log in? So we had something that was a little bit different. And then I created this. And now, look, there is a new idea. So this hasn't changed. This page, the initial page that the admin sees when they first log in, it hasn't changed. But there is a new page that's sort of competing with it a little bit. And that is something that I'd like people to look at, and we can talk about whether this should be the new first page or whether it's just something that power users can switch to. So this is called the All Entities. I've added it here as a menu item. If you create a new app on saltcorn.com, you will get it as the bottom page here in your settings. You will still get the table, pages, and views up here. But at the bottom, you'll get this All Entities. If you don't have it, let me just show you how you can get this page. So you go to site structure menu, and then you basically want to create an admin page, and you want that page to be the entities page like this, right? And then you just call it whatever you want to, and then you need to add here in to get it to come up here to the menu, and you want to set the right permissions. But typically this is a page that you'll want to add just for the admin to have access. And so here's what it looks like. With no further ado. So this is a page that lists all of the entities in your application. And so for the moment, right now when it first loads, you see everything, page, table, triggers. And if you just want to see tables, you can type here. And you can, get multiple types of entities. You can also type something here. So, can type book here, and I get all the things that have match book either in the name or if it's a view, then it will match the view template, view pattern. And you can also look at only your tags. So here I don't have anything here, but so you can see here, what's the tags. And so it's a combination of these 3 filters. And then you get the links here to create things. We have a little bit of feedback already. I think we want the links to the old pages. It'll probably go down here. And I think we need to be a little bit more dynamic about what is over here on the right. Maybe some of these need to be editable. So that I think this can still be improved, but it would be great if people could have a look and let me know any ideas you have for improving this page. And this at least should be where power users go to that's what we're trying to make it the place where power users will go when they want to just navigate the application and go to edit something. I think this is it's almost there. I think some small changes, but I'm finding it useful already. And then we can talk about, I think if we want to use that as the initial page that people see when they first load the app and when they first come in, then we do need to add some more information here. So it would have to be, if it's we'd have to explain, because what's quite nice about on the standard page here is if there are no entities here, then we explain what those entities are. So we explain what a table is, a little blurb here that explains what a table is and what a view is. And I think that's quite nice. So we can we can do something like that if we want to use this all entities page for beginners as well. All right, we have a comment from Mike. I would find it useful if all entities had a creation date and last edited date listed. Interesting. I have not thought about that. That's an interesting idea. I'm concerned about the space, but maybe we could do something where you can select the columns. That could actually be nice if you had selectable columns, because, sometimes you don't want to see this access. Sometimes you want to see maybe some more links. Sometimes you don't really care about tags. If you don't use them, you may not want this to go away. And if we had the ability to add and remove columns here with a little switch, then we could do the last edited and created. It's interesting because I see the point, right? Because if you're sorting by that, then you want the you typically want the things you've changed the most recently to go near the top. I think that's an interesting idea. We don't actually have fields for that. But it is an interesting idea. So maybe we can think about that. All right, thanks, Mike. Yeah, I see that because you have. I really see that because you want the most recent things you've edited to go near the top, right? Interesting. Right. Thank you. Okay, so that is, so please check out the all entities. Please send more comments. Be like Mike. Send good suggestions, and then we can then decide whether that should be there for for beginners as well, or whether it should just be the power users tool. Okay, so next step that I wanted to discuss, we have some new options for large applications. So somebody's running a large application that has a lot of rows and a lot of files, and doing some full text search, and that's inevitably giving some problems. So we are, every time in Saltcorn somebody is pushing the boundaries, and then, something gets slow. And then we can't, it's almost impossible to just sit down and make things fast from the beginning, because you don't know what the bottlenecks are. And you really have to be able to sort of, to be able to benchmark and see what's happening. So sometimes things get slow when you have a lot of tables. Sometimes things get slow when you have a lot of rows. Sometimes it's about the total number of connections in your database. And in this case, it was actually the total number of files that was in the system was also causing trouble. So we did some optimizations for that. Those, I actually downed any switches for that, so you should just see those. That doesn't really matter. But there are new settings in the list to help you if you have a large application. First of all, this order field, if that was left blank, then in the past it would actually default to the primary key. Whatever the primary key was for that table, it would default to that even if you'd left that blank. Now that's no longer the case. If this default order by is blank, then you get whatever order the database wants to give you. And that turns out to really help in some challenging applications where you have a large number of rows and you're searching for those, maybe with full text search. So that also means that you will get a change in behavior here. So you may want to go and set this to ID. If you want it to sort by primary key, you'd have to explicitly go and set it to that. That is look, I'm sorry if your application changes, but it was really that the interpretation was wrong. Like, given this user interface, if this was blank, the correct thing to do was really to not sort by anything, which can give you a faster display and a faster search. So that's just the way. It's doing the right thing now. So the second thing that we've got is this full page count. This is about, I have another large table. So let me try this. So I've got this Amos housing. This is a large data set for like housing sales data. So like the database, this is a table that has sort of data from sales of real estate, like how many bedrooms do you have, and then it has the price as well. And it's a data set for predictive analytics. And so look, it's not huge, but this is not trivial either. So now what you see is here. Normally this is the old behavior, and this is the behavior you get by default, and now still. So there's no change if you don't click anything. But you get here, this is the pagination, right? And you get hello. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I know who that is. Jolt, good to see you. He's got your name backwards. Good to see you. So you have here the number of pages. So I can go to page 2, etc. But we have the maximum page here. And again, it turns out that for certain applications, if you're doing full text search, getting just this number can really slow down your application. And typically you don't really care about that. Even if you have a lot of results, you'd still probably want pagination. If you don't want it, you can turn it off and you get faster performance. But I think sometimes you're willing to sacrifice this number of page count here at the last page if you need to for performance reasons, right? Just sometimes you need that. So let's see. So if you turn off this full page count, and now you don't have the maximum page, but you can still do pages here, right? And you can do all this stuff here. But you don't get the maximum number of pages, and sometimes that's what you need. Okay, so that is the performance, and then there's some performance enhancements that sort of are under the hood, and one of them actually went wrong, but that's fixed in the latest release. Okay. Those were actually so there are some enhancements now. Okay, let me stay on performance, and I'm going to do the lazy tabs. This is again something that helps. It helps if you have a large number of rows, but more it helps if you have a complex user interface. So how do I explain this? So we have now. Let me go through this. We have here, okay, let's say we have, let me rearrange this a little bit so it looks a little bit better. Yeah. Okay, so this is a page and it's got some tabs. Should we just, let's make another tab and now, okay, here's what we'll do. No, okay, we're just gonna put up with it. There's a tab here. Oh, I know what we'll do. We'll put it in a container. And a card, so you can see a little bit better. Okay, here's a page. Oh, this wasn't working in a container. Oh. Not quite sure why that is, so let's keep it outside. Okay, here's a page, all right? You've got some tabs, and those tabs have different contents in each one. So this bit below is not part of the tabs, but this bit is. So the first hello world here is, the second hello world here is outside the tabs, but this is inside. So the first tab just has a hello world in, this has a view, and this has another view, okay? Now, these tabs have different options, and we've just added another one. So sorry about that. But this can really, really help if you have a large and complex application. So actually, let's switch off these. And let's see what's going on here. Okay, so what has changed is this option for lazy tabs, lazy load views. And what that means is that the contents of each tab is only loaded when they are displayed. Okay, so only when I click this do I get this displayed. I don't have a hugely complex thing here underneath this tab, but it's nevertheless true. I mean, we can see it. We can see it here in the network. Let me show you. So here you see, so this is the contents of the view loading. And if I'm initially here, let's refresh here. On the initial page load, so there haven't been any requests here, network requests. And then as I switch to the second tab, then that view is loaded. And that's the contents here. As I switch, away and then back, it's not loaded again. So it's only loaded once, but it is only loaded when you switch to that tab. And again, here I have a different view under the third tab. And then here, book filter is that view. And again, that is only loaded when that tab is activated. So what that means is that it doesn't really matter so much when it's these small views, only did this to develop it. But if you have like a huge view under a tab, like a Gantt chart, a calendar, or something else that takes a long time to load, you will your page will speed up. The initial page load will speed up enormously by doing this. That will, that can really make a huge difference in terms of how, I want to say responsive, but then I'm using the wrong word, but how snappy your application will feel. So do give that a try. It works with, it works on a different bunch of different, I guess it didn't, for some reason didn't work before when I had a container. I need to look at why that was. But you have, it still works with deep link. It still works with server rendering. But that's a little bit redundant. It's possible actually that we shouldn't have those two being enableable at the same time. It also works if you have an accordion. So again here, that view, you can actually see that it, you can see there's a little delay here. So see, that's instant, but if I'm on a page, if I refresh the page, I don't know if you guys can see it over YouTube, but there's a little delay here that I see. Again here, that shows up later. So, yeah, so look, this can just really help if you like organizing your application into tabs and accordions. All right, great. Jolt has a question about this. Does it mean it will now load when I nest it into a drop down? No, drop downs. Do you mean these drop downs, drop menus? Those are not subject to, but we could. Just no one suggested that. So I mean, you can put stuff inside, right? You can put views. Can you? somehow you can. Maybe it's that difficult to actually do. It's difficult to pick, huh? It's a bit of a shame here. It's really difficult to pick this up. I think we might have to do a bug report on this. Because now that closes. So I can't actually... I could move things inside here with... Yeah, whenever the live thing doesn't work, just... So now I've got a view inside here. So that is not lazy. That is not lazy in the same way, but it could be. I've never really thought about putting views inside tabs. If you know, this could be made lazy as well, but it isn't for the moment. I set style note, but bullet selector and try to display the selector when a drop down clicked. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Look, that does not currently work, but it could be made to work. That this could be lazy. I mean, it works, but it's not. It's loaded on page load. Okay, thanks for that. Let me move on. So again, if you have a large complex user interface, do try that. Try that out. Now, okay, so the reason why I put my screen around and change things was because I wanted to show you something. And that is a new feature, and this is something we've known, we've wanted. I said we'd do this for 1.4. It didn't happen, but it's happened now. So what you can do now is basically run Saltcorn on multiple servers. Hooray! So you can now have multiple application nodes, and you can you can have one database server, and then you can have multiple nodes that you serve the application from, which matters hugely in terms of scalability, right? So that effectively now means that Saltcorn scales. Now, this was always possible, but there were some limitations, and there still are some limitations, but we've made the first big step and laid the foundation in terms of the communication protocol. So you could always do this, actually, but some things wouldn't work. And so you can run multiple application nodes against one database. They will all serve the same content. But some things that didn't work was if you're building your application. So if you're making changes, and sometimes those changes aren't just about building your application, they're also about just internally Saltcorn will coordinate some configuration variables and stuff like that. So if you're making changes, then you will on one node, the other nodes would not know about that, because your build configuration, although it lives in the database and that's where it's stored, it's actually cached in memory, because otherwise every time there's a request, we'd have to fetch information from the database about what tables are there, what views are there, and what's the structures. So all of that is cached in memory. And so when you're building on one node, then another node would not know when to refresh that cache, and it would serve out-of-date content. It wouldn't serve out-of-date data, but it would, because that all comes from the database that's not stored in memory. You don't want to do that because of scalability. That would just eat up too much memory as your application gets larger. But the application structure grows much less. I mean, you don't have that many views, and they're relatively compact in their storage. So that is all cached in memory. And that would not know how to update as you move from one node to another. So this is something sort of what we call multi-node support that we've known about this for a long time, right? That we needed to do this at some point. So I'm going to demonstrate that. So I'm going to do that on my terminal. Yeah. Okay, here's my terminal. I'm going to show you how this can run. And it's actually not hard. Okay, let me just... Yeah, I think that works. Okay. Okay, here's my terminal. I'm running Saltcorn, and I'm running 2 different instances here. Let me not confuse you too much. So here's one instance. I'm running on the same computer. I'm running this on my laptop. But they're 2 totally separate processes, and there's nothing, it would be exactly the same if I ran on a different computer. And that's what I'm really demonstrating here. But I'm running it 2 different processes on 2 different ports, just because otherwise they would conflict. So you would do it differently if you have multiple servers. Then you would use a load balancer to distribute. But here we're just going to demonstrate it by having 2 different servers running on 2 different ports. So what you have to do is, all you have to do is set this variable multinode to true. I can't remember if internally if there's a setting. I don't think there is. There is a setting in the configuration file. So you can also put it in the configuration file instead. But environment variables override your configuration file. So here I'm going to run one server on port 3001 with this Saltcorn multinode equals true. And then on my other one, I'm going to run that on port 3000. And that is exactly the same. And now I am going to... which one am I here? Yeah. I am going to... Let's split this up instead. I now have 2 different windows. I have 2 different windows here. They are each on contacting the server, right? That's the 2 different servers. And you can see, let's just demonstrate it with this page. Got this page. It's the same content, of course. But now, maybe I should I do it without the multinode? Oh, no, I'm just gonna make a change here, right? So all I'll show you is that as I make a change here, you will see it on the other application as well. There you go. So I made the change over on this server, and I reloaded here, and it shows up. There you go. So we've got communication between 2 servers. I feel I'm vastly letting down this. I think this was quite a lot of work. I didn't do this. Christian did it, Christian Hugo, and it just works. It's great. And you know we are you can't really see it. All you're doing is changing the application, and it sort of works. But this is great. This is great for scalability. Sorry, I just had an accident here with my light falling down. Disaster. Okay. This is great for scalability. I've got like cables all over my feet. I should do something about that. So this is great for scalability, and so you can now run Saltcorn on multiple servers. There's one thing that is not yet supported on this, and this is the new real-time collaboration. Either it's not supported, or there's I've done something wrong, or whatever. But I couldn't get that to work right now. So we're just gonna check that and maybe that's a little bit more work, or maybe I've just done something wrong. But I think this is a huge step for scalability and also for reliability, right? So you don't just do this for enhancing your throughput. You also do this for if one server goes down, there's the other one. Okay, Patrick is asking, and that's for all the config and the data. Yeah, so it's for the configuration. The data always comes from the database. So yes, that has always been the case, that the data would be served live. It wouldn't be cached, so it comes out of the database. And so all of these, so important just to highlight how this works. So these 2 server processes in my case, but it would be representing 2 different computers. They contact the same database, and that has to be has to somehow be able to reach that same database, and then serve that content out of that database. So that's that. Yes, it's showing the same data and the same database. Will there also be database sync possibility? Sorry, Patrick is asking, will there be a database sync possibility? So this is if you have 2 different databases I mean, I do feel this is slightly outside the scope of Saltcorn. You can do this. You do this with PostgreSQL. They have all sorts of different ways. There's like different tools for. They have this multi-master sync. They have like leader-follower syncs. It's quite complicated to set up. And, maybe we should do something about setting this up so that we can have uh, maybe we should help the user. I do also feel that once you go to multiple database servers, you are definitely in, you're definitely doing web scale. And while I would like you to be able to continue to use Saltcorn, I think at the same time, the idea that you can just run a, whatever product you're doing that's obviously very successful, the fact that you can run that without any engineers is, it's not really going to work. If you're at the scale where you need multiple databases as well as innumerable application servers, you are going to have people who, not necessarily as full-time employees, but you're going to have to, have someone on hand who understands how to operate PostgreSQL at scale and how to operate Linux servers. Maybe one day we can help with that. But I think that's, for the moment, let's do the low-hanging fruit in this. Yes, primary, secondary. Yes, exactly. So you can cluster PostgreSQL with primary, secondary, or multi-primary setups. Right. Okay. There was one more thing I wanted to say that we have done. Okay, so there's another change that I haven't actually checked, but apparently it works. I can talk a little bit about why this has changed and why it needed to change. Also just yes, let's do that. So I didn't get rid of my double windows here. So the problem before was that I'm just gonna do a little bit of this. I won't do the full demonstration because it involves like setting up email and stuff. This is about sending up multiple emails. So if you had an update event on a table, let's say what you want to do is you want to notify a user when some change happens, right? Let me just go through this. So I have this table about books, and that doesn't have. Okay, this is a table of books. It's got like number of pages, author, publication date. Let's add a editor, which is a user. Use key to users. So this is a user. So now each book has an editor. And now let's say you want the editor to be notified whenever Jolt is saying someone who knows what they do, not just cowboys like us. But look, we're pushing the boundaries of we're trying to make things more accessible. But yes, at a certain scale, you will need someone who knows what they do. For now. Okay, so right, so each book now has an editor, and I want that editor to be notified in some way when something about the book changes, right? When maybe there's a new review, or and here I'm gonna make it so when the page number changes or whatever. Whenever there's a change to an entity, you want the owner of that entity to be notified. And so we can create a trigger. So we have a facility for this. I think this part of the office hours is just going to turn into a little tutorial about notifications and stuff. because I'm not sure we've seen this. Definitely haven't covered this in a tutorial video. So let's say notify editor on book update. All right. So when the book is updated, we have an action called notify user, and this is very simple. You can just like say your book has changed, and then we want the user where we want this to be the editor, right? So this is ID editor, right? So that's the variable of that user. And now, okay, so the notification system is something that you have to enable over here. Oh no, you don't have to. You don't actually have to enable it, but you have to enable. You have to enable it if you want it to go to push notifications. So the notification system is kind of like a centralized facility in Saltcorn. We don't talk about it very much, but it can be very useful. And it's just an abstract way that a message can be sent to a user that, you know, they need to be told about something. And they can receive those notifications in different ways. We actually had, I did at some point want to add plugins so that the notifications can be sent over different channels. I think we never did that, as far as I remember. That you can't get notifications over Slack. You can't get them over whatever instant messaging protocol you use, but you can get them in different ways. So that's I forget. I remember now. They're always enabled system wide because it's not. But the question is, for each user, how are they received? So now that we've changed the menu, we don't actually have. We used to have a setting here where that's in the menu, but now that you have control over the menu, that made a little bit. That's made it a little bit harder. So you have to make this yourself now, and this is how do I do this? Notifications. Okay, and I want the minimum role to be public. And we'll add this into the user menu here. Yeah, something like that. And now I see my notifications. And this is where I see my notifications. Again, there used to be... Should we try to do this? Okay, let me set... So I added the editor field. Now I want to set that editor to myself. I'm logged in as admin at foo. And now when I change a book, right, I can just set this to 8. So now I get a notification. Okay, so different ways you get your notification. First of all, you get it with a pop-up. That was something we did when we did the real-time collaboration features. You get a little toast. These are called toasts. And you get that coming up in all the windows that I'm logged in as. That's part of being a notification. And you can't opt out of that as a user. You always get this toast when you are sent a notification. And then I have this notifications page. I see it doesn't look great on this plugin. This is the material design. There's been some recent changes that I haven't incorporated here, but some things don't always look great. But it's going to be changed. And you've read this. But I can also choose to receive them by email, right? So now I will get notifications sent to me also by email when I have when this book has changed. And this is the thing that's recently changed, that we implemented, that Christian again implemented. now if there are sort of multiple notifications, you don't want to get like 50 notifications. If you have a complex system, you can easily get to a point where, you know, one change causes a whole bunch of rows to update because of some sort of cascading changes. Maybe you're running a workflow, and then you don't want the user to receive, you know, 50 emails because they have uh, because they've you know, essentially there's been, you know, one change, but that hasn't changed to a number of entities that they're getting notifications about. But you just want the user to get one email, and that's been implemented now. So now if I had one action that caused multiple changes to a book, then I'd get one email only, and that would have like all of these notifications in it. I don't think I have emails set up. I'm not sure. Anyways, I'm not gonna show you my email, but you know, you would get only one email which has the multiple notifications inside. So that is okay. Um, that is all I wanted to show. Did I want to say something else about notifications? I did want to say, now telling you that Christian did all this work. This was actually done by Gerard. And so what have I done? What have I done? I've been working for people who are working on Saltcorn. We have a new project, which is, we have two new projects. So it just, where I'm just building some applications, just prototypes for the moment. One is legal, and one is about football. That's what I've been working on. And then I've been working on our regular clients. We have a lot of work there. I guess I did these performance changes. I did this lazy tab loading, so I'm not entirely useless. I'm still doing a little bit of programming. I'm starting to do more sort of trying to do more videos. Oh yeah, videos. I did a video. There's a new video. Apparently Greg said there was a problem with it, so I'm just gonna have to have a look at that. There's a bit of sound missing, but there's a new video. Can I show you without maybe open this tab? Let's see here. Okay, so this is us. This is us. We're live. But here's a new video. So this is in the old playlist. So I made a new video. I'm not the quality was not as good as I'd hoped. I tried to do something where, you know, I was sitting in a corner of the screen. You could see me talking, and there's also some intro slides. It's attempting to be better, higher quality than some of the ones I did before. But I think the most important thing is that we're actually doing videos again. And a lot of people have asked for more videos. And this is, you know, this was the next one I wanted to do. It's about, you know, how to use the different authentication systems. It's a bit long, 48 minutes, but that's partly because it gets into authentication systems but become more and more elaborate. In the beginning, you just have roles, and then you have ownership of formulae. So you know, you can just stop watching this whenever, you know, there's a sufficiently complex method of authorization. Did I say authentication? It's about authorization, about how, you know, access control that fits your use case, and they do get more complicated, but I think the simpler ones are easy to use, and you can probably use those. So usually just roles and ownership by a field will get you far enough. So that took up a fair amount of my time, and that's pretty much it. So I think if there are no more questions, then I'm gonna call it quits for today. So thank you for showing up. It's great to see everyone. And maybe we'll do this in 2 weeks again, and we will hopefully have something else to talk about. All right, have a good weekend.